Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Barnes, and I'm the Vice President of Research and Development here at LifeVantage. And I'm incredibly excited today to be able to spend some time talking about one of the products that you may not think about as much from our portfolio, but that is incredibly important to your health, our D3 Plus. And I'm also incredibly excited to have a member of my SAB, Dr. Nancy Bryan, here to dive into the science behind D3, why you need it, why you need to supplement with it, why you need to be using LifeVantage's version of it. So the agenda today, she's going to talk you through the science. She's going to introduce after she talks, you're going to be like, I need this now. And then I'm going to end up real quick with a few things, reasons that you should love D3 Plus. So you have some great talking points to immediately take away and start using. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy and I'll share her slides and we'll walk through some fascinating information on vitamin D3.
Awesome. I'm so excited to be here. I really do truly appreciate the time. This is something I've been very passionate about for quite some time. And you know what? This is perfect because so many people really don't have an idea of why it is so important today. They're like, oh, look, I get out in the sun. I take this, I take that, whatever. So thank you for giving me the time today to just talk just a little bit about it.
Definitely. Can't wait to hear about it.
So first and foremost, as I said, a lot of people go, oh, well, they equate our D with sunshine, as they should, because you know what? We do need that daily dose of sunshine. And so, you know what? Here's the thing about vitamin D. It's a fat soluble vitamin. It's the only vitamin in the body that produces when the UV rays strike the skin. So it literally, the sun striking the skin helps with the synthesis of it. So it's really much more like a hormone. And I don't think most people think of it that way, but if you know and understand what we're going to talk about a little bit, then you'll understand why. So first and foremost, for vitamin D to be utilized properly in our body, it has to undergo 2 steps of activation. And we love talking about activation in our company, right? And
yes,
so
it's our differentiator.
Exactly. We're so excited always about activation and the body doing the chemistry that it's supposed to. And just as a quick background, I'm not only a pharmacist, but also a molecular biochemist. And so my whole mindset always is about balancing the chemistry. And this is such an important part of that, which is why I get super excited about vitamin D. So for this to happen though, as I said, 2 steps of activation. The first has to occur in the liver where it's converted to calcidiol. Okay, these are big words and we're not going to get stuck on them, but just understand and know calcidiol is different from calcitriol. Okay, it needs then to be converted by the kidneys so that it goes to become calcitriol. And when it becomes calcitriol, that's when it's going to be able to be utilized by the body more completely. Okay, so that's just kind of the rough beginning on the vitamin D. So why is vitamin D important? Here's the key that we need to talk to. What I like to do first is, once you understand what it actually does, then you'll get an understanding of why back in the day, your mom would tell you, drink your milk, make sure you're getting your D. It's, good for all these things.
Every day.
And it was every day, you started your day with that sitting right in front of you in the morning, right? And there was a good reason for that. One of the most important things is it promotes calcium absorption in your gut. Without the proper amount of D, you're not going to get the calcium that you take into your body to be able to absorb and get to where it needs to go. Second, it maintains adequate serum calcium and phosphate concentrations. Again, not trying to use a lot of heavy chemistry words or whatever, but calcium and phosphate are really important for things like enabling normal bone mineralization. What does that mean? When you hear about people, if they get weak bones when they're older, it's because their bones aren't mineralizing. They're not keeping the calcium inside the bones. Our bones are the bank, okay? And so if we don't have proper serum calcium and phosphates, we can start losing some of what we need on the inside cores of our bones. It also is very helpful in controlling involuntary muscle contractions. And that's really important because without that, you can get lots of cramps and spasms. And if you've ever been involved in sports, or if you've ever been sleeping in the middle of the night and you get a cramp, you know how important it is not to have those. So I really like the fact that it's going to help control the involuntary muscle contractions. We need it for bone growth, the remodeling of things called osteoblasts and osteoclasts, basically big words for cells that are going to go build our bones, right? That is the healthy foundation for having a healthy bone growth. So proper D is also important. Get this, just as I said, healthy promotion of cell growth. That has to be there for the cell to grow and become what it's going to become. It's needed for neuromuscular, for our immune function. I don't think most people think about that, but our immune function is very dependent upon D. And then for glucose metabolism, when you think about how many people are pre-diabetic and not properly using glucose, sometimes it's because they're not getting proper D. And so what happens is we have a ton of genes that help encode our proteins. That's going to help regulate things like cell proliferation, the cells growing properly, differentiating properly. Apoptosis, well, what's that? That's a, you know what? There are times for cells to die too. If they don't die, those are things that can become things like terrible things like a cancer cell or something. So we want to make sure our cells are properly doing what they're supposed to. That's all modulated by vitamin D.
Yeah,
and many of the
bringing those
tissues.
cells back into balance, like you're
Yep.
saying, Nancy. You have
Always.
that normal cell cycle, and you need to have that healthy growth, differentiation, and death just in normal balance.
Exactly. And you know, that's what always speaks to me is how do we get that chemistry back to balance, right? And so the thing that we have is with the vitamin D, it's going to help make sure that we get those two formations that we talked about earlier. Okay, next slide, please. So what are sources? How do we get vitamin D? Well, guess what? We can get it from foods, especially things like flesh of fatty fish and fish oils, things like beef liver, egg yolks, cheese in small amounts, even plants, mushrooms, and fungi. Those are some of the food sources that we can get. But you know what? It doesn't always ensure that that's what happens, right? Remember, we're talking about that absorption thing. More importantly, sun exposure. We need somewhere between 5 and 30 minutes a day between 10 and 4 p.m. The time frame matters because that's when we're going to get the most significant proper rays. So what is happening in our world today? We have lack of sun. Everybody's using sunscreens now. Well, guess what? You might be out there, but you're still not even getting the exposure that you need, right? So what does that bring us to? Supplementation. So we have D2, which is in many forms of vitamin D that are currently on the market. And then we have D3. Both of those must be converted by the liver. Remember, we talked about conversions. But guess what? The D3 is much easier. And so because of that, it helps us to maintain longer and more responsible gene regulation. And that occurs in like over 2,000 genes. So it's really important. So what happens when we have vitamin D deficiency? Oh my goodness. Well, again, worldwide issue that's increasing over recent years because we've become so much more focused on skin cancers. Everybody's staying out of the sunlight. They're wearing heavier clothing. They're wearing sunscreens. They're doing all those kinds of things. Or if you're like me and grew up in Michigan, I always tease my family. We have two things, winter and July in Michigan. Okay. So for the most part, you're not getting a lot of sunshine. Also, look at what happens when you have a low intake. Do we all eat properly? That's one issue. But more importantly, you can try to eat the best you can. But if you're not absorbing it due to so many different issues we have today, celiacs and Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, vegan diets. And you know what? Lactose intolerance. That's something we've learned about in the last few years. And so it's really important to understand you could be taking it in, but we need to make sure we're absorbing it too. And then there's other medical issues, liver disease. If you have obesity, you're not going to be utilizing things proper, gastric bypass. All those things can interfere, not to mention all the types of medication. And we all know where all those medications are today. Everybody on the planet is on a statin for cholesterol. Everybody is on steroids for inflammation. Everybody has all kinds of issues with buildup of fluids in their body. So they take thiazide diuretics. And of course, a bunch of the weight loss meds. So all of those things get in the way. So what makes us different? This is when I get really excited. And I was happy to be able to be part of the formulating team on this, working with Dr. Beers. And I was so grateful for everybody's understanding of my passion for this. So thank you so much to our science team. But the biggest thing is we use a high potency vitamin D3. That's the cholecalciferol. Remember we talked about that calciferol earlier. It is way easier for the liver to break that down and do its bioactive form from that form versus the ergocholecalciferol, which is D2 and some of the other versions. Also, we have an excellent source of the micronutrients, and here's the big word. Tons of things that we utilize to activate our body, right? So here we are, another activating product, and I'm thrilled to be able to be part of that. The vitamin K2 is really essential. It really helps the proper absorption of the calcium into the bones where it's needed. And it also really helps with our cardiovascular health. Most people don't think of that in terms, but let's face it. If we're putting calcium in the right places, it's going to be staying in our bones and used in chemical reactions. If we're not, it can sometimes be building up in other places that we don't want it. So it's really important to maintain our cardiovascular health. We have 4 forms of magnesium, and it's most bioavailable for proper absorption, including cardiovascular friendly magnesium taurate. Now, again, don't get caught up in all these. Here's what you need to know. The people putting this together, we know what we need to make all of this keep balanced chemistry and have activation. And that is needed for muscle contractions and relaxation. There's multiple forms of calcium, not just one kind. So many calcium supplements are just one kind of calcium that's a huge molecule, and you don't absorb it or utilize it. In fact, it can do some damaging things. So it's really important that we have this D3 properly to help us to utilize the calcium proper and to signal the calcium throughout the whole body for muscle contractions and that cardiovascular health. We also have things like boron in there. Another form of our calcium is the fructoborate. And again, this is going to be maintaining the healthy bones, but also really helpful for hair, skin, and nails. And then we have horsetail extract, which is essential for proper absorption and again, the healthy hair and skin and nails.
Yeah, so much more than just D3. It's really intelligent formulation of combining all of these essential nutrients together with the D3. That's why it's the D3 plus, so that you can really experience these variety of benefits and make sure that it's bioavailable and the calcium is getting where it needs to go. So I love when you said, Nancy, that we have the expertise and when we're putting these together so that you don't need to worry about it. Everyone who's listening, like we did the research, we crafted it together. It's like putting together a perfect recipe so that you can reap the benefits of it without having to worry about taking a bunch of different products together. We crafted the right product for you.
Absolutely love it. So there we are. What are the reasons to love it? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for these things. Starting with immune health. I mean, that's the basis of everything. When we don't have immune health, guess what? That's where inflammatory processes happen. All kinds of bad things happen. So being able to support our immune health and balanced immune response is so key to proper health and wellness. The strong bones, great, teeth, great, but who doesn't want to have beautiful hair, skin, and nails, right? And of course, we want to have a healthy cardiovascular system along with muscle and nerve health so we don't get those terrible contractions I was talking about and have cramps, right? We need that relaxation. And so importantly, it actually improves our mood. And who doesn't need more of that today, right? So those are the things that I love the most. And I'm always amazed when people say, oh my gosh, it's another pill I need to take. Well, I wish we could get this in what we're eating and what we're doing, but this is ensuring that it's going to be there where we need it. And that activation is so important.
Perfect. And then what I just want to leave everyone with are some very clear, easy talking points about this product. So the first thing you can remember about D3 Plus is it's going to be a fast track for your vitamin D because it is used in your body more efficiently than D2. So you're going to get that quicker absorption. And then you're going to get this luminous beauty that's straight from the sun because it's delivering those important micronutrients that Nancy mentioned, like boron and silicon from that horsetail, which are going to support the hair, skin, and nails, which we all want to ensure are strong so that we're looking and feeling our best. And then you have architects of strength, because D3 Plus is not just D3, it includes vitamin K2, which is essential because it helps to direct calcium straight into your bones and teeth to build that strength. And then finally, it's beyond bones. So it's going to help support, as Nancy said, that balanced immune response, that cardiovascular health, and improved mood. So you're not only doing this for your bones, you're not only doing this for your teeth. This is an essential mineral, essential vitamin, a hormone that's used in so many different processes. And you're going to experience so many benefits from just adding this to your routine. So, Nancy, I'm just going to put you on the spot a little bit. Like, what would be your last kind of word to everyone about D3 when they say, I already am taking a lot, why would I need this? Like, what would you say is your essential reason for using this product?
You know what? As we talked about with activation, if you understand how many processes are in the body to rebalance, and when we have a balanced cell, guess what? It operates at its best. And that's what we're talking about, optimal health, and most important, healthy longevity. So for me, this is just part of that puzzle. And I just love that we are now having this on our availability. Just absolutely thrilled.
Yes, I completely agree. Because I think the more we understand about activation, the more complicated we realize it is, how many micronutrients it needs and pieces to make sure that everything's being activated optimally and we're getting optimal cell function and all the benefits. So our cells aren't slowing down and becoming less efficient. They're being able to do what they were meant to do right from the start. Because your body does have that health encoded within. Activation is really about unlocking it, so that your cells can work the way they are always meant to. And D3 is such an essential part of all of that. So I hope that this was incredibly helpful to all of you to hear a little bit more about D3, some things you might not have known, that maybe you didn't know that it was a hormone. Maybe you didn't know you're not going to get enough from the sun. Maybe you didn't know you were not going to get enough from the diet. Maybe you didn't know it was going to improve your mood. I hope that you were able to pull something from what Dr. Nancy Bryan said to be able to apply to your daily life. And I hope that you will get this product, add it to your regimen, and really experience the benefits. So thank you, Nancy, for coming on. Thank you for sharing your passion and your expertise as you help to craft this formula. And we just thank you so much for just sharing a little bit more about this product with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Make sure to tune in next week. We're actually going to have another special product session because we have Momentum Academy in Nashville coming up. There's going to be some product launches, which I'm sure you've already seen floating around social. I am incredibly excited about what you're going to get your hands on. Come to Momentum Academy, first of all, in Nashville, because you're going to hear me nerd out about these products and how they work. And then secondly, after Momentum Academy, tune in and we're going to dive even deeper and kind of do a recap of everything so that you can kind of have that second reminding of everything new that's coming down, because activation is our differentiator. We're putting activation into everything, and this new launch is really moving activation into another area, and we can't wait for you all to experience it. So tune in next week, and thank you guys so much.